Good morning, everybody. This is, today is January 21st. This is the South Kingstown Assessment Board of Review Tax Appeal Hearings. The first order of business is roll call. David Bott is here. Is Brad here?
Yep, Brad Heavenor is present.
Is Alice here?
Present.
Alice Ecclesiak is here, and Ken Monroe is not present. And Alice is the alternate, and she'll be taking Ken's place today. Next item of business are the approval of minutes from last week, January 13th. Do I have a motion on the floor to approve as presented?
I have one question for the assessor, just as a matter of clarification. We noted that the issue of the deck on those field cards, it's noted in appeal number 42 that you would correct the deck on the field card. And it's a little complicated, but I think there might have been one or two other appeals where the deck was an issue, but we didn't specifically call out the deck in those motions.
You don't have to do anything because we did have the discussion that separate from the appeal that I would be handling that regardless.
Yes.
So that was stated.
So we have reassurance
that's
that that'll be
happening.
taken care of.
You got it. Yeah,
All right.
and then I'll even report back once that's been completed, and I'll run a spreadsheet, and you guys
Yeah.
will give it your stamp of approval.
Yeah.
So just so I fully understand, that's the deck sizes, correct?
It was the classifying it from an FOP, from a front porch, to a WDK, a wood deck. So that's happening outside of the appeal cycle regardless, for all of the units. But there was no motion, but that's happening anyway.
Yeah, we kind of made that as like in the spirit of the motion. We'll take a closer
Yeah,
look. But
no,
that's
it
more
was
of an
embedded in.
assessor correction than a board decision.
You got it, yeah.
But with that reassurance, I would make a motion to approve the minutes.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to approve the minutes as presented with those comments. Do we have any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion passes. New business. The first appeal is number 32, Dan Realty. Is somebody representing the owner? Are they here today? Would you please come up to the desk there, sir? By the way, what we try to do here is have the appellant take 10 minutes or less to present their case. We've got quite a few. We've got a fairly long agenda here, so we're trying to give everybody a chance to, a reasonable time, and if we feel it has to go beyond 10 minutes, we're more than willing to, but if we can try to attempt to keep it to 10 minutes, and I think we have a timer up there, is that correct? Jen's ready to go on that. And then what our normal procedure is, we'll hear all of these cases, and then what we'll do is at the end of the meeting, it still is a public meeting, but we'll close the public hearing and then have a discussion amongst ourselves and try to come up with, with a determination as to how we're going to proceed. So, that being said, if you'd like to present your case, that would be great. And by the way, there's a microphone right there, there's a red button, and if you could state your name, you have to turn that button on the right side, and that red light will come on. And if you could state your name for the record and, proceed, that would be great.
Daniel Smalley, 117 Gale Drive. I have 3 pieces of property in question. I'd appealed it once before. I hired an independent appraisal firm, and all 3, I've got appraisals here, came in significantly less than the town. 2 of the properties have homes on them, 1 is a vacant lot. The vacant lot, you took the assessment from $480,000 to $778,000 increase. The independent appraisal came in at $480,000. And I think I sent you copies of that for the leasing. And they were pretty extensive appraisals.
So we're speaking about 32, 33, and 30. So the 3 properties. The vacant land is parcel 33. It's appeal 33, Hartford Avenue.
That was 60. That is.
Yeah, I just want to. We have our stack of information here. I'm just trying to keep it straight.
Okay, I believe that is 65 Hartford.
The one we're looking at right now for appeal number 32 is 36 Hartford Ave.
Okay, that's the one with the dwelling on it.
Correct.
Okay. On the tax, went up, the assessment went up to $1,155,000. The appraisal came in at $905,000.
And this appraisal was done as of, like a year ago this past December, correct?
It took a while, yes. I don't think it's a year ago, but
It was done specifically for the purposes of revaluation, or for the...
after I got my new tax bill, that's when I contracted that.
Right, so they did this for you, and I believe that the effective date, it coincides with the date of the assessment, which is good for our purposes.
Okay.
How did you, just curious how you chose the appraiser?
My CPA firm gave me their name. He's a well-known appraisal. He's done some business properties before, and he knew the area.
And did both appraisers that signed the appraisal come to the property?
Yes.
So Mr. Andolfo and Mr. Fournier?
Mr. Fournier was definitely there. I'm not sure Mr. Rodolfo was there.
Right. Yeah.
If you want, I've got copies of the appraisals here.
The one, I mean, I don't want to jump ahead, but we didn't receive an appraisal for the second.
The Gale Drive thing, property?
Yeah, we have one improved property and one vacant land property that we have appraisals for, but we didn't get an appraisal for Gale Drive.
Correct. He did not finish the appraisal.
Okay, so we have two appraisals for the three
Right.
properties.
You do not
Got
have
it.
the third appraisal.
Perfect. All right, it was in our materials. I think there was a note saying that there'd be an appraisal forthcoming, and I just wanted to make sure we didn't miss
There was supposed to be, yes.
any information. I think what I noticed, just speaking to the first one, there's a fair amount of attention placed on the condition of the property. It seems like the physical condition of the property, it's rated as fair in the appraisal. I think also the assessor has it down as fair, but I wondered if you could just speak to the condition of that home.
The properties, I've kept the home and I haven't sold it. It's basically, it needs extensive work or rebuilding.
Right, they've got a lot of
There's no-
pictures
There's
in
no
the,
heating system in it. We had to pull that out, we had to pull the oil furnace out, the oil tanks out.
this is the one that runs, it's got space heaters or something for heating right now, or?
He's got like mini splits and wood stove.
Got it. Okay, is it leased at the moment? Are you
No.
leasing, or is it just kind of,
Nope, I have a friend staying there.
you have someone staying there? Okay, got it. The one question that came up when I was just looking at it is this, just in contemplation of the future of the property, whether you would consider rebuilding the thing entirely, or would a kind of a gut renovation be appropriate, or just wondering your thought on it, because I imagine the value of the vacant land, or the value of the site that it sits on is probably a significant contributor to value, more so than the home, and I just didn't know I was curious what your,
My intention was, I really didn't want any neighbors,
yeah.
so I bought it so somebody else wouldn't.
Right, so the three properties are all proximate to each other. I think one's
Yes.
kind of across the street.
No, they're all next to each other. You've got.
They're all abutting.
They
okay.
all abut.
Yeah, what are we looking at here?
Which one?
Wendy,
This is the property in question, 36 Hartford Avenue.
and the vacant lot then is to the right.
It would come down this way to your right, yes.
Yeah, and then there is the larger, the third property. I'm sorry to bleed these together, guys, but there's a larger. I know the assessment is greater. It's assessed for 4.7 million. Is that then on the other side?
Yep.
Got it. Okay.
That's the 117 Gale Drive on the other side. So it abuts both those pieces of property.
Yeah, I mean, so what jumped out at me on this one was just the physical condition of the property, and it's adjusted for in the appraisal, and also just the question of the water view. I was curious about if you could describe. I don't think there was a picture in this appraisal of the water
Well,
view.
you see the water right there. You're facing south.
Right.
That's the marsh.
Yeah, and this is thanks, Wendy.
Yeah, we can toggle between Eagle View, which gives us obliques. We can,
The property has, neither of those lots has water rights or is on the water.
Yeah, so I think in this case, but also in the case of the vacant lot that we have an appraisal for, there's adjustments to account for the water amenity as the appraiser sees it.
DeLisi took that into account
Yep,
by looking at other properties.
yep. And in fact, I think the vacant land parcels, they were all, I believe all the vacant land comparables benefited in some way from either water view, and I think there was one waterfront parcel that was used as a comp in that. So I think that's kind of just a couple items that jumped
The
out to
parcel of
me.
land is the one that's the biggest discrepancy between my appraisal firm.
Yeah, that
and
one was
yours.
interesting. So that one,
And it went up, and also it went up dramatically from where it was.
yeah, I think we see this sometimes with the land assessments near water.
But
There's been a big jump.
They had just been done right around with COVID, so right around 2019, I'm guessing.
Yeah, when we can get into, when we, get to the decision phase, we can kind of pick apart the appraisal a little bit, but the sales seemed, reasonable and relevant to the subject. The assessment at 778 versus the appraisal at 480 does jump out as a pretty wide spread.
Correct.
A question for you.
Sure.
Were you present when the appraiser came to check the property?
No, I was not.
It appears the water view pictures were taken maybe from the driveway.
Probably what, I've got it right here. Well, look, the empty lot has no driveway, so it's hard for me to tell, I'm not sure which picture you're referring to. Sorry. Can you pull up the picture you're talking about, or can you pull up the photo?
I'm looking from the appraisal of the property, and it's, I don't know, their page numbers?
tiny, 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 up at the top right, Alice, it'll say page number. It's tiny, though, on the top right-hand. Oh,
Okay.
Looks like
Page 23 of 41.
No, I ask because it appears that the house is located at a higher level than where the pictures
Which house you
say.
talking about? The one on Hartford?
Yes, the one in Hartford.
That's higher than the lot, yes.
Yes.
On this one, just one question. The appraiser looked at it, I think, in September 2025. The assessment date is December 31st, the prior year. Just for my understanding, they make the assumption that the condition of the property in September 2025 is the same as it was in December 2024. And I just want to ask whether there were any significant changes to the property in the intervening period. So the photos that we see are generally representative of the condition of the property as of the effective date. Because sometimes we get into this where there's been some damages have occurred after the date of assessment that,
No, there's
would affect it.
been no changes to the property.
Yeah,
Other than minor maintenance.
got it. It's more of a formality, but
Correct.
every now and then we see cases where something happened after the date of assessment.
Other comments, questions? Okay, so we also have two other pieces of property here from the same applicant. We want to review those also. So why don't we just move on? There's no other questions, we're going to move on. No other questions, we're going to move on to number 33, which is Hartford Avenue. And that's the open piece of property, correct? And there's no number on that because there's no house.
No house number, yeah, we
Yeah.
I ended up asking a question about it, but we've discussed it. You own it essentially as kind of buffer and
Correct.
kind of controlling the
Yep.
homes
I
around.
didn't want to see two more homes there.
Right, yep.
Alice, do you have any questions or comments?
No,
Brad, are you set with this, with the
Yeah, I'm set with
appraisal
this.
as presented?
I'm set with this one, yeah.
Okay, we will move on to appeal number 34, which is at 117 Gale Drive. And I think you mentioned, Dan, that there's no appraisal for this at this time?
Correct.
No appraisal, but I guess if you want to give us make your case on this one, now's your moment to take a stab at it.
Just paying a lot of taxes, they were going way up.
Yeah, on this one, I
You're
think
one of the that's one of the highest priced tax bills in South Kingstown,
we jumped from, so the total assessment looks like it jumped from about 3.3 million up to 4.7 million and change
which is a big,
between the
that's
assessment
a
years.
20-something% increase since 2020 or 2018. I don't think the market value is going up that much.
And, of the three properties, this one obviously is it's the highest value property. Yeah, I have no other questions on this one.
Yeah, I pulled the property up if you want to see the aerial view.
Alice, do you have any questions? Dan, do you have any other comments at this time, or?
No, we should just review, please, and see what you think. Just that, I find it hard to believe that the appraisal firm is that far different from your appraisals. And if I was carrying that same basic ratios to the Gale Drive property, they're varying from you guys anywhere from 20 to 40% difference in their appraisal, which is huge.
Are you planning on or intending to get an appraisal on this piece of property?
It was supposed to have gotten done. They didn't finish. So, I've already spent more money on appraisals than I'm going to save in the taxes.
Wendy, we can, if an appraisal is forthcoming between, at some point, would we be able to return to this if we were to continue? I think we've done this in the past.
I mean, if you've been a very empathetic board, I think if we know it's forthcoming within the next few weeks, we're still in the middle of the season. If it's for year end, 12/31/24, it's not, I'm not going to tell you what to do, but you could accept into the record. These appraisals came in after I decisioned regardless, so he's in your world now. So that would be a discussion between the two of you if you wanted to.
Yeah, absolutely. If you've engaged an appraiser and they're conducting the analysis and you expect to receive an appraisal, we might as well, what I might suggest to the board, and I don't know how everyone else feels about it, but we might slot this one forward so we have a chance to review that appraisal as
All
well
right.
and give that consideration.
I can't guarantee how fast they'll get it. I will call them when I leave here.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like we have enough on the first two, but, I mean, it's up to the agreement of the remainder of the board members as well, how they feel about it. But in the past, there have been cases where we wait till the next meeting, and if it's forthcoming before then, that might be an opportunity to, take into account additional information, so.
We're probably looking at another 3 more meetings, maybe for the season anyway, within the next month or 2, just to give you a time frame.
All right, I'll do what I can do. It will not be in the it will not be in the next few weeks, I don't think.
I like that idea, Brad.
Yeah, we can extend the time, and then eventually, if nothing's forthcoming, then we can decide at a later date.
Yeah.
Regardless, either way.
All right. All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate the consideration.
Thank you, Dan.
I just want to interject before you move on to Appeal 68. When you arrived this morning, they're actually right in front of you, Chairman Bod. Yes, that didn't make it into your binder, so that's the last page of the submission that was received, I believe, yesterday from Mr. Wright.
Thank you, Wendy. We have appeal number 68, Thomas Wright at 18 Holiday Court. Is somebody here? Are they here? Very good. You know the drill about the button there with the red light, right? Yeah, when you want to speak, if you could speak into the microphone, there's 2
it on?
buttons there. The one on the right side will illuminate
It's
the
on?
red button. Yep.
Hopefully I can save you some time. Pretty much, I have 2 pages. I could read it, but you could read it, and it's basically a description of what I thought about, where I would be able to have some adjustments. I put some pictures in there to back it up because it's mostly interior and underneath, which it's deteriorated. The assessment took me by surprise. From a couple of people I've talked to in the realty business, I would not be able to put the house on the market without doing a lot of expensive repairs to bring it up to what the assessment is called for. So I could read that, or you could. I have nothing else to say but what I have already said
Yeah.
in the.
I know, well, I believe we've certainly read the letter that was sent along with the photos. So, I mean, you can present the case as you wish, but we've read this. But if you want to, you can summarize it for us, but it's a pretty straightforward situation. There's areas of deferred maintenance. It seems like areas of like physical deterioration of the property that would need to get addressed, that you're drawing our attention to.
I've made improvements in the property since I purchased it 17, 18 years ago. But my age, my finances are getting to the point where, and I just lost my wife during the holidays here. So I'm probably not going to put more money into it. I go, the kids get it, and they'll sell it. So
Yeah, and this property, so Holiday Court, remind me where that's located.
it's Village at Warden's Pond. It's a
Right,
mobile home.
that's what I thought, so.
Mobile home.
I have
See-
the development up, but unfortunately, the way the GIS works, I can't single out his particular unit, but if you look at the field card,
He's
you'll
on
be
leased
able to
land then, essentially,
You
right?
got it.
Yeah.
That's it. It's in the older section. Other than that, I can't tell you anything else. We've done, it has had a new roof put on. It was the original ones, they had 2 on it, should not have been. It was at some areas with 2 inches pitch, and it never should have had 2 sections of roof, so we took all those off. Put windows in. I've done some remodeling on the inside, but there's a lot that still needs to be done. My age is catching up to me.
And it said, the assessor has the year built as 1987. Does that sound about right for when that
88
was?
88 is what it was,
88.
yeah.
There's a couple of notes on the field card that came through in our materials where, and I'm just curious, that there's a note next to, I don't know if that was, I don't believe it was my note. That's why I'm asking.
That was my note.
It says 28%, and I'm like, I saw that, it stood out, and I was like, what is the 20?
The increase is specifically for the ranch style
So-
from the reval.
And that could, right, that corresponds into the front of the field card. You wrote 28.67% ranch style. So it's just basically,
That's the driver of the increase.
got it.
There's others, but that's a primarily.
So you were working with a data set of ranch style homes that saw an increase in value. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, it may be, I mean, I think what's been presented here is, you know, you're making the case based on the physical condition of the property. We can take a look when we come to at the end of the meeting, we'll discuss and decide. We'll take a look at the field card under, you know, under effective year built, depreciation, you know, basically take a closer look at the areas of condition that are that the assessor reflects and try to make a decision.
Can't ask for more than that.
Yeah.
I did make the assessment that I put in there was just a combination of what's on the street and taking an average, not necessarily saying
Yeah,
it's
you
worth
could-
this much less or anything.
Your home then, I guess, as it compares to it compares to your neighbors, is it in line in terms of condition with your neighbors? Is it a little bit on the low end? Is it?
I would say probably in line with the neighbors. If you took them all and said, okay, everybody is at this point, I can't talk to the inside of anybody other than my own.
Right. No, and I think the additional materials that were submitted helps out, because what we had originally received was kind of the kitchen cabinets and ceiling items, but I think the roof,
That's
the
the
gable
outside.
ends
Yeah,
helps us.
Kitchen cabinets are serviceable, but they definitely, if I put the house on the market, it would be a tough time selling it as
Yeah.
it is.
And my last comment, I guess, is so it's assessed at around $276,000, and you know you've come in and you presented an opinion of $258,500 roughly. So a modest difference in your opinion of the value and the assessor's difference in value.
Well, I'm not an estimator on housing,
Mm-hmm.
but I do know that it would take quite a bit of money to bring it up to those prices, to those things, and you come up with something, I said, okay, and I only used 18 Holiday Court, or Holiday Court for the houses, so the ones that same style house, same that I had, I took the highest, the lowest, and came up on an average, and said, we're not asking to be the lowest, not asking to be the highest.
I like the approach. Simple. Other comments, questions?
Not for me.
Alice and Brad, you guys are good? Okay, like I mentioned, we'll, you know, at the end, when we've heard everybody, we'll start chatting about this if you'd like to stick around. If you don't want to, if you don't want to stick around, you don't have to.
Well, I have to be on a school bus. I'm a driver in about
Okay.
45 minutes, so I was hoping this would not take too long.
Yeah, thank you for the time, your time, and we probably won't be talking about this until after 11,
Okay,
so
thank you. Do you want me to turn this off or leave it on?
I'll probably turn it off. Thank you.
Thanks for coming in. Thank you.
Okay, appeal number 70. Stephen and Susan Patton, are they present?
It's like perfect attendance today.
Okay. Am I? Oh, yeah. Good morning. Good morning. Hi. Do you have that paper that I made? I had a couple of questions. The first question is, I just wondered if there's any, like, in-home inspections? Is that something that's done before, any major inspection?
Yeah, this is, I mean, the assessor can maybe speak to just the formalities of the statistical versus full revaluation when inspections occur.
Yep.
So this is a statistical revaluation, so
Yep.
it's strictly just based off of sales. The houses that are visited by the revaluation company are the ones that sold.
Okay.
During a full reval, which we just had in 2021, that's when it's a full measure and list, so every house is, we try to do interior and exterior inspections as best we
Yeah,
can.
'cause-
Unfortunately, it was during COVID, so
Yeah.
some of the scrubbing out process between now and the next full reval will be part of the discovery during the appeals. You know, and as you just, from the previous gentleman, I hadn't had those photos until after, so sometimes, you know, that comes into play, but it may not be in, you know, your turn with me at this point. Now it's with the board, so that'll be the discussion there. And as far as just inspections in general,
Yeah.
whenever there's new construction, we're constantly inspecting those houses
Right.
before they're on the
Right.
books.
But I just wondered, when was the last for the whole town, when was the last in?
2021.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
And because it was COVID, it was the honor system. We'll leave it at that.
Okay, because, yeah, all right, we'll leave it at that. My second question is about what criteria do you use to classify houses as colonial, convention, or custom?
That's a great question that it has come up a couple of times at our hearings, and I'm always interested to hearing more from the assessor about this issue.
So every reval has a mythology, and building styles are one of the main drivers. There's other curves, land curves, sales, things like that. So every reval, these are looked at by the assessor to make sure the definitions still are relevant. Sometimes they change throughout time. I think our seasonals used to be called camp style back in the day. So this isn't written in stone forever.
Right.
Every reval is a clean slate to some degree, and there's a lot of things that can happen, not just with market turnover, different assessors, different opinions, all of that comes into play. So that being said, with this reval, where I was at the helm of the ship, I made sure we went through the building styles, and we didn't make any changes, but I will tell you, they are, they're discretionary to some degree.
Okay.
Okay? I do have a definition of what that means, and we wear that hat when we're out on the field trying to decide sometimes, what is this? So that's the discussion we can have today, but we do have that definition for you.
Okay. Well, from us looking at it from the inside, you know, from the outside in, it seemed arbitrary to us because during the course of the appraisal, ours went from custom to colonial to conventional. And I think that system has, at least in our area, we have across the street, diagonal, and right next door, all those houses have had major renovations down to the studs. And yet, our house is being valued at so much more. So much that our neighbors, when they told us about the appraisal, they were laughing, okay? So it's just, there's like, the house across the street is 1,000 feet bigger than ours, and yet theirs is appraised at $83,000 less. The house diagonal, and like I said, if you bring the pictures up, you'll see the four houses I'm talking about. We didn't have to go far. We went across the street, diagonal, right next door, all major renovations. And they are all classified as colonial. When we spoke with the appraiser, yeah, she actually told us that it was a colonial, they changed it, and then they went back. So we live in this house full-time. We don't rent it out. We don't have a summer house. We don't have anything else. This was a big deal for us. And we feel like we're being disproportionately, you know, at least by what we're looking at. The houses are bigger, 5 bedrooms, 3.5 baths versus our 3 bedrooms, 2 baths. And so that's our case. Is there anything you want to add, sorry?
Well, just basically the disproportionate value placed on our house. One of the things is 107 is the diagonal, so that, the value that was assessed there was 1,279,000. Our house, which is not on the water, less square footage, less land, is valued at 1,277,000. So to me, that's disproportionate. And it's very similar. The house next to us, which is an older house, but totally renovated inside, is the same as ours.
Same
We've been
size.
inside these houses. That is actually the same size. Their valuation is 1,024,000, and ours, once again, is 1,277,000. Now, when the appraisers went in, they came back with a higher rating. We went and appealed that with them. We showed them the pictures, said, oh yeah, the difference is the house classification. And so they said, this is really a colonial. When they came in and actually did the appraisal again, they sent a person inside to re-review because they had some square footage issues. He came in and he says, oh yeah, this is colonial compared to your neighbors. They put it into the system as colonial. We actually came in at 1,152,000, which we thought was within line with the other houses that we've shown here. And then they changed it up to conventional, which brought it up to the 1,277,000. So our take is that it really is the housing classification that's driving the disproportionate value here. And we kind of question why that is.
And the one other thing that we'd like to add is that, so if we start at this high value, that's going to continue as we go forward.
Yeah, every year we're going to be paying that.
Right,
extra
and,
tax.
right. And if you look, can you look at the two houses across the street? Is that possible? Because
Do you have
those,
pictures
that
of those
house
in
is
the,
the same, actually, that house there, the one that's right next to ours, is this, yeah, there we go.
Do you have pictures in the handout of the houses we're talking about?
I don't know that I have pictures of the houses that are on your, so you're 126 Prospect.
Yeah, and this is,
We have pictures of 116, 107, and 125.
There's 116, 107.
All right, what do you have here?
We have pictures here.
Yeah, we
Got
have
it.
better pictures.
Yeah, we got it.
Bring them up.
All right, and these are colonial?
These are all colonial.
Here's our house. Here's the house that's assessed less than ours.
I mean,
Oh, should I not be?
no, I love it. I love that you're here. I love that you're sharing this. I'm having my own response is really just like trying to wrap my head around the difference between conventional and colonial. It's not making sense to me yet.
Well,
And
the only difference that we see is it drives the price way up.
Yeah, I mean, backing up, I understand, so the assessment company has to classify home styles because there's cases, I think, if you have a large data set of capes versus colonials versus ranches, market trends might impact one in a different way than another. So I understand why style is like an operative factor. We just heard, I think, in a couple cases before us that like the ranch style saw a bigger jump in value. Some of that makes sense to me because, okay, maybe people in our community are kind of want a one level, or the trends are moving more towards a certain type of home. So I understand why style is presented to us, and especially when we have a data set of 70 or 100 sales of capes versus 200 sales of ranches or whatever that is. That all seems like helpful and drives us towards accuracy. I get a little bit confused between custom, colonial, and conventional, especially when they result in wide swings in value for homes that, in a neighborhood. I'll pass these to the other board members, but I understand where you're coming from is what I'm trying to say.
So that large home up there, it was assessed at 80,000 less than ours.
This
That
one?
Yes.
Okay. Right, so this is, essentially on a per square foot basis? What number?
Yes.
What number is this?
3,000, and ours is 2,000.
Or what? Is this
Oh,
one?
126.
You're 126.
I'm sorry, 125.
This is 125. So this
Yeah.
must be right across the street,
It
or
is right across the street from us.
right?
Yeah, this one's 107. These are another set of pictures.
Got it. Yeah, I'll share with the board. These are essentially the neighbors that were classified as colonial.
Right.
And also were
Conventional, colonial.
subject, this is your home, okay. Which looks more colonial than the others.
And I think that's what the, you know.
The
Rhode Island
assessor
Vision was
said.
saying. They came in
Right.
and said.
So you kind of went, someone looked at it and put it in the custom bucket first, and then you're like, you raised that as an issue. You raised the I understand. You came to the division and said, why is our assessment so much higher than our neighbors? And they said, oh, it's the custom classification. Well, you should be colonial. And there was a discussion about this, and at some point it kind of swung back over to conventional.
Well, it actually changed on the site to colonial.
Okay,
And
so
then
that change was
And then at the
made.
very end,
The data, the two differences there is after it went from custom, they put colonial in. I went in and looked at
Yeah.
it, pulled that data down, took some pictures of that. And so now I have the colonial data to show the assessment that they put in. And then it was changed over again and to conventional, and then the data updated. So it is very apparent that the whole increase is driven wholly by the house status.
Yeah, and that affects the improvements value. I see that you put price per square foot, so you're at 360 a square foot, and the colonials next to you are at around 200 a square foot.
Right.
That includes land, though, right? Is that you're just doing the whole,
No, per square foot is just the.
the building
house
improvement? Oh, okay.
Right. That's why we also went to look at the 107 to say, listen, a house across the street with more square footage on the pond is actually worth about the same as ours. So we're like, so the two
Right.
together, if you put those two data points together, they don't converge.
Interesting, because their land is a couple $100,000 higher than yours, which would make sense if they have a water amenity. But their home itself is assessed a couple $100,000 lower. The improvements are. Yeah. Thanks. And thanks for everyone for indulging me exploring this issue. I mean, I'd be curious. I don't like that the style alone is driving huge swings in value for homes like this. That is like, it seems, whereas with Ranch and Cape, it's a nice way of isolating shifts in market trends, and it's clarifying, and it drives us towards accuracy. But this is just, it's like a little bit confusing to me.
It's the new construction, if you've noticed a trend during this appeal season, most of the, well, I don't want to group anything into one particular trend, but this was complete for 100% as of the reval year and 12/31/2024. So a lot of people, when they do new construction, unfortunately, I hate to say they get a double hit, but that's exactly what happens. The process of that correlating with the reval, I'm actually, that this was caught because it probably you would have been billed out as a custom and maybe not even had that discussion, right? And I wouldn't have known it until afterwards, but because it was happening, the COs, that was all coming into play with with Vision. Yes, we did have it as a custom originally, and I don't see every single tiny thing we do all of the time, so I didn't know that was going on. And then March 28th, the reval company, there was an inspection. I know exactly who went out. And there are lots of challenges in the industry, and there's new folks out there doing that. So that made me want to look at that particular person's data stuff more because I knew they were new. So once I reviewed it on April 14th, before values were finalized for that bill cycle, I didn't agree with either my deputy or with the reval company. I didn't think it was a custom, but I wasn't really sold that it was a colonial either, which you may have a different opinion today, and that's fine and dandy. But when we get into the decision-making part, I can read you the definition of custom, colonial, convention, and why I got there, and then that kind of pivots you into what you would want to do.
Which our response to that would be, if that's, I get that, but then when are we going back and adjusting the others up to that? Because we are obviously a colonial, if they're a colonial.
You got it.
What's the plan to do that, so that going down the road, we're not being disproportionate for the rest of our lives?
I want to have that discussion with you as well, because part of this is discovery, so now that I see those comps, sure those are colonials either, but that's a whole nother
It's sometimes we get into the situation where, so we're learning some new things about the neighborhood, and we see there's some sense of just proportionality, but it's sometimes hard for us to gauge, is your home assessed incorrectly, or are all the other ones around you assessed incorrectly? And these conversations help us just kind of try to wrap our, it's much easier if you have an appraisal and it shows us a value and we can kind of tackle that black and white. But this is because it's relative to other properties in the area. it's a little bit trickier. And I understand, so in this case, the other properties around you were built early, yours was a newer construction?
Yeah, theirs was redone between, so those two on the other side on the water were done between 2015 and 2020, and the one that's next to us, and I mean, they, down to the studs.
Yeah.
And the one that's next to us was done in the early 200s.
Yeah. Yeah, because that is it's one difference that pops up the year built. So the three other properties, year built 2002,
But even-
1898,
Yeah, right.
1938.
Yeah.
So they have an older shell, but were extensively renovated or updated
Really
too.
an older shell, because I mean, when we talked to the builders about doing stuff, there's a couple of proposals that came in and said, oh yeah, we can do a renovation, we'll use some of the existing framing, and then we're gonna put like a header on it so that we can make them 2x6s so we can go up to current code for installation. So if we had chosen that methodology, according to your criteria, we would be a colonial. But because we chose to build new, now we're gonna be a conventional, and we're gonna pay, this much more taxes for the rest of our lives. So it seems like I'm being penalized for making an economic decision because we decided to build new because it seemed to be more efficient according to our builder, and we don't have to jury rig things to hit code. So that's why we chose that, but it seems we're
Yeah,
being
and they
unduly
also,
penalized.
well, and they also said that we had a small renovation, and they said that it wasn't, it wasn't built well, so, in the existing house.
In the one
So,
before
yeah,
the.
and so, it was, right. But the fact that these houses have been taken down to the studs, I mean, if anyway.
If we go into their house or go into our house, you can't say, wow, look at this house, it's brand, I mean, they're all brand new in some respect, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, what it just seemed like, so there's one difference is just that this is, essentially new construction and the other homes are, extensive. So that seems to be something that the assessor is trying to capture.
It's complex, it's not just the style, right? You've got land, you've got the depreciation, they're older houses, I mean, besides the fact that we'll leave whether they're colonial or something other on the side. But some are 10 years, 20 years, so you're looking at another 25% depreciation that you're not receiving yet, so that all comes into play.
But I
Yeah,
think that, can I just say?
You make
I
it.
think that with the colonial, I mean, I feel like that took that into consideration. We're still at like $300 per square foot while they're at they're at 200. I feel like it's exorbitant what you want to go up to. That's my,
Right, because the age of the home should be factored in using depreciation.
yes, and it is.
And in this case, there's both depreciation and just a difference in base unit cost. So you do not benefit from depreciation
Right, we're
because you
fine
have a
with
new
that.
home.
Yeah, we're fine with that.
The base cost of your home at over $300 a square foot is different.
$360.
Yeah, different than the neighbor's base cost that's undepreciated at 200, 220, and that's driven by the style. So I am understanding the
Okay.
case. I just want you to know that I'm understanding the case that you're making. I think in some case, the other thing that's going on, maybe I'll just, I think in our town has such a wide range in home values, right? And I think that sometimes it's hard to apply mass appraisal when you have homes of a higher quality of construction in places where there's higher values. And so it's hard to go from homes that are assessed for $200,000 and there's homes that are assessed for $7 million and trying to make sure that those values are applied appropriately to the different areas. I think that, and I think that what occurs to me that the assessor's trying to use the classification of style as a way to make sure that they're capturing high value, the small number of high value homes, without spreading that impact into other places in the community. So I think that, I mean, we can discuss this in the decision phase. I'm curious what people think about it, but I understand the case that you're making, and I understand where the assessor's coming from as well by using these classifications to try to massage values towards an accurate number, but just on the face of it, it looks weird to me, based on
Those
the
pictures,
yeah.
I know, and living across the street from it.
Yeah.
And being inside that house.
Got it.
Okay.
Yep, we got it, I got it.
Yeah.
I'm all set.
Good comments, Brad.
Sorry.
I get it too, so. Good, okay. The next appeal is number 80, Daniel Tanona, 36 Middle Road. Is anybody here? Yes. Okay, thank you, Wendy.
Good morning.
Good morning. Okay, you got the mic on, okay.
I do,
Very
yes.
good, thank you.
I think so, yeah. Yeah, what I gave you is 2 pages. One is a summary, because I thought I wasn't going to be here, and this was intended to be an introduction. And the second page is the data supporting the conclusions on the first page, which I think you have. You probably have that spreadsheet that I passed in before. Okay? Okay. Okay? Should I start or wait for you?
Yep, I think we're ready.
Okay.
Yeah, I got it open right to the page.
Yep.
Okay, I'm basing my appeal on an issue of fairness. My land assessment, I think, is excessive with respect to those adjacent to me. I mean, my property's got a view, although it's much reduced from when my wife and I bought the property 34 years ago. So maybe, I mean, it's gone from, I don't know, 120 degrees down to 15 because of houses and trees. So maybe it was the original one that led to the land assessment that I've been taxed on now. I don't know. But my property doesn't have a better view than some of the properties around me. So that's really, it's my comparison to my adjacent properties. My property on a dollar per acre basis is the highest of all of my adjacent properties. It's 70% higher than the average of the adjacent properties, and it's actually twice as high as what I would consider the best property in those adjacent things, which is the Conleys, and I've got it down there. Theirs is at $1,375,000 per acre, compared to mine at $2,700,000. So I'm really asking that I'd like to bring my land assessment on a per acre basis in comparison to close to the average of the adjacent properties around me. If so, that average is $1,624,000 per acre, and I've got about a half an acre, so that comes down to about $764,000 for an assessment, and add that to the improvement of the house value, which I'm not challenging. That comes out to $1,219,000, and I don't have much more to say than that. It just doesn't seem right that my house is so much higher than my neighbor's properties.
Comments, questions?
Yeah, I've got questions, of course. No,
I like that.
Sorry, yeah, I'm monopolizing a lot of time, but I reviewed the neighboring properties that you presented in this table, and I was particularly, just as someone, you're more familiar with the neighborhood than I am, and your neighbors, obviously. I looked at the property at 43 Middle, owned by Mahoney, because it's got the same size lot as yours, and I was just and I don't have a map in front of me. I think we might have been presented a neighborhood map, but I was just curious if you could tell us about that property, in terms of where it's located or what amenities it has versus yours, because they're the same size lot. Your land is assessed at 1.2 million, as you said, and that property's at 796,000. And then I guess you also mentioned the 133 Carpenter, the Conley property. You actually mentioned in your testimony that it means a larger lot, but is that one more comparable in terms of the, I guess whatever the neighborhood factors are in this neighborhood view or whatever? But yeah.
So what I'm focusing on is the adjacent properties. I mean, there are other properties that could come into play, but with regard to the adjacent properties, I'm not sure why the Mahoney's is so much lower, but it is, by the way, this is on a hill.
Right.
So.
That's helpful.
Yeah. And mine is kind of, it's not at the top of the hill, but it's close to the top of the hill. The Conleys are further up. They've got a much broader view of the ocean and the ponds around. And I would consider that probably the best property in the immediate nature. The Mahoney's is lower down on the hill. I don't think they have as good a view, and that's probably why it's assessed lower. I can't comment on, I mean, I didn't go down and take a look at the view from their house, but, they still have a view, but it's probably not as good as mine. Conley's is better, much better. Does that help?
That is actually, no, that's helpful. And I'm looking at a map too, so it kind of helps me. So the Conley property it looks like it's across Middle Road to the north?
Yeah.
And then this other property that the Mahoney's have looks like it's kind of...
Southwest.
Yeah, to the southwest. What about the property, this is lot 205. That is the Marchand's property?
Yes, that's behind me.
In terms of just, I guess, how does that compare? Because that's directly adjacent to yours on my map.
Yeah, I would consider, I mean...
Similar or in terms of...
For the land?
Yeah, just land amenities, view.
It's higher up, so it probably has got a better view.
Mm-hmm.
Although my property blocks some of that, it doesn't block all of it.
Got it.
My house does. So it's, as I said, it's higher up, and so it has a nice view.
And then, sorry, my last question, but the Riders in lot 203?
Yes?
That's then down the hill from...
It's pretty adjacent.
Yeah.
It's on the same level, I would say. It's down a little bit, but not much.
Got it.
And it's pretty much next door.
All right, that's actually helpful. We have you guys provided us with this map here that kind of just shows the neighborhood orientation.
I did, and sir, you have that in front of you too, so I wanted to make sure you received that as well,
Yeah.
public information, just to kind of see how, give you some idea of what condition factor is going on down there. And if you notice, let's see, we got 90-4204, so the subject property is a condition factor of 1.75, and initially the abutter at 205 also did, but I think the board had reduced it, so I did note that on the map just to give you kind of a bit of a history moving forward as to what happened there. And then 201 is also at 1.75. It's hard to see on this map, but if you look at Eagle View, you can almost see the inclines and the slopes and the views. So like the appellant stated, the higher up, the better the view, and that's taken into account with that condition factor rating. You can see the houses, actually the one right in front, 224, it's got a condition factor 1.10, so that's coming down on that slope. So if you kind of piecemeal this little artsy craftsy map I made with my permanent marker, and then cross-referenced it with the map in play, it starts to make a little bit more sense. But we can talk about that in the decision-making phase, but you have that as well.
What is 1.75? What is the number?
Oh, it's a complicated answer, but it's basically a scale of 1 to 5, and something that would be a premier waterfront view, like Charlestown Beach Road. A lot of those houses have a condition factor of like 4. So this kind of gives you an idea, like a flat, basic, clear parcel would be a 1. So you've got a bump of a parcel that has no incline. So that tells me, without even looking at a picture, you've got some type of site-specific amenity. Well, I don't want to use the word amenity, but perk, and that is that you're up higher. So in order to capture that number correlates to that. I hope that made sense. If I can try and explain it differently if that didn't.
Well, the way it affects you, I think, is when, it becomes a multiplier. So it's an adjustment to a base land value. So the assessor's like, land in this neighborhood's worth X. But if you've got worse conditions, if you've got like bad topo or flood or marshy area, they might reduce the factor. And if you've got a big benefit like waterfront property, they'll multiply that rate by this factor. So your neighborhood, I see, it ranges from 1 to 1.75. The Conley's at the top at 1.75 as a factor on their land, but your factor is also 1.75. So that's kind of like an underlying adjustment that's driving your assessment, your land assessment, versus the other properties that I was mentioning that look like they're 1.1.
Well,
it looks like it's an attempt to adjust for factors that might influence value in a neighborhood where a view amenity might be a benefit.
yeah, I understand.
It's not a rocket science. I mean, it's not a science. It's a little subjective, which is why I like to hear about just kind of the neighborhood specific. If there's some that are a little bit better, some that are a little worse, it's helpful for us to know.
I would consider the Conleys to be much better than mine, and also the Daninos, which is next to Marsh. It's what is the number? 207.
Mm-hmm.
That's high up and got a beautiful view too. So, I don't see how my 175 compares appropriately to the others. But, I mean, I admit I have a nice view. I mean, I'm not arguing that. It's just that when you look at the price per acre, that's what I think is really way out of whack. That's what I've highlighted.
And it looks like the board, I don't know if we were on the board at the time this change was made, but some past assessment board did change 205. You say, Wendy, from 1.75 to 1.5. So we've kind of visited this question before, or maybe our predecessors have.
But the views have changed since, I don't know when these assessments were done, but the 1.75, I mean, because houses and trees have propped up and the views really narrowed significantly.
Right, so your view has changed then due to not just vegetation, but also construction?
Yeah. There's several houses that have been built up that block the view to the south, mostly to the south.
In theory, those do get looked at during every reval, specifically a full reval. You would, if you wanted to, rehaul on them, but I don't think we ever have done that historically. I don't see that we may or may not do that. But a lot of the times, if there's a sale and it's a new construction, the revale company will revisit the condition factors around, or if there's a land sale, actually that did happen this season, a significant land sale, we'll definitely look at the neighborhood. So it comes into play, we look at it, and they do change, like you said, because now you've got block views and things like that, so those do get looked at.
So, what does that mean? I'm sorry. But does that mean that it will be looked at, or?
Well, without having the research in front of me to see what we did and if we did do it and if we're going to, but collectively, yes, they're looked at and they change.
Because, yeah, it really has changed a lot. I've lost a lot of you, but that's really my case.
Other questions, comments? I'm quite familiar with this site. I did some work in this neighborhood here, right next door, actually, to the Conley. So I know that does slope down from, from where Conley's house is off of Carpenter Drive down to the back lot there. So I'm assuming that property where you are is pretty much parallel, is pretty much the same scenario as far as how the landscape is or how that slope is.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, like if you look at the Conley lot, it's,
Yes.
the back of the Conley lot slopes down quite a bit down onto Slope Ave.
That's correct.
So I'm assuming that whatever the topography is on the Conley lot, that yours is pretty much the same as what that is.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah, okay.
So
I-
it's lower than their house.
Yeah,
yes,
but probably the reason that yours is getting assessed where it is, I mean, you're in the high part of your lot right there, if I'm not mistaken, because I am, like I said, quite familiar with that. And you've got probably like 2 or 3 floors, maybe you got like a walkout basement, and you've got some type of,
I don't have a walkout.
okay,
basement.
all right. But in any case, you still have the house on the high part of the lot, so you probably have some type of view from where you are.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's true. That's
Yep.
absolutely true.
Okay. But, anyway. Any other comments, questions? Okay.
Okay, so should I leave, or?
If it's up to you. I mean, we're gonna, we've got some other ones to hear. We got a few more to listen to, and then we're going to close the public hearing, and we're gonna talk about it. So we probably won't be chatting about it till about 11:30 or so, but if you want to stick around, you're more than welcome to. And if not, you can you could leave, that's up to you, and then, Wendy or the staff will be back in touch with you as to, what we decided to do.
Okay, it doesn't, let me see, I'm not going to have any more input. You're just going to have a discussion.
Yeah, we moved to a decision phase that is kind of just for us.
Yeah, but it's a public meeting, and everybody, and you're more than welcome to stay. Some people stick around, and
So you're going to do it in about 20 minutes or something like that?
well, the goal is we're gonna have to adjourn the meeting by 12:15. We're gonna have to be, but we're gonna, no matter what happens, we're gonna be ending this meeting at 12:15. If we have to pick up at another time, we'll have to figure that out, at that time and schedule another meeting.
Okay.
So, but,
I think I'll leave then.
but you're more than welcome to stay. It's pretty cold
You'll
out
get a
there.
decision letter in the mail
Yeah.
regardless, if in favor or not. So that'll definitely happen.
Okay.
And if if there's more that they would want to know and you're still on the agenda, I'll be in contact telling you, hey, that there's another meeting forthcoming. So we'll be in contact with you.
Thank you very much.
The meetings are also available on the town website, on YouTube.
That's right.
and-
You can even watch this after we're done here later. When you go home, you can go on YouTube, click on miscellaneous boards, assessment board review, and you can actually watch the decision-making part of what happened.
It's riveting, it's riveting watching.
Riveting,
but,
enthralling.
Make sure you have a lot of coffee.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is appeal number 84, Pinch, Stephen, and Karen. Since I am their neighbor, I live in the same neighborhood, I feel it's appropriate that I recuse myself from this discussion and any type of vote. So I will still run the meeting, and just for clarification, if we have 2 votes, we're good here, right, Wendy? If we
Correct. I did seek legal just to double check, and that's a quorum. 2 is a quorum.
Okay, So if the applicant would like to state their name for the record and press the button with so the red light goes on, you may proceed.
Sure. Good morning. Just to give you a brief introduction, I'm Karen Pinch. This is my husband, Steve Pinch. Steve's been here his whole life. We've both been public servants our entire lives. Steve as a high school guidance counselor, 43 years on the volunteer fire department here. Currently, he's the chief, and I'm a retired lieutenant colonel from the state police, and also town administrator in Richmond, just retired. I don't tell you these things to pat ourselves on the back, only to give you an understanding of the fact that we understand taxes and why they're important, and why everyone has to pay their fair share. But it's important to note that we've never appealed our taxes. We've never even called to ask a question about our taxes before now. And to be honest, we were really actually shocked when we received our assessment. So we did a lot of research, and we feel that we've been assessed unfairly compared to similar houses in our neighborhood. So thank you for hearing us.
Good morning. So we did present a lot of information to you. We were a setback when we got the evaluation. But, you know, we did know moving to the water that our evaluation would be higher. Obviously, I know the town well. But it was a shock. But, you know, it could have been correct. So what we did was we did what most people do. We looked at some other properties and tried to figure out where we fall. And so we have a lot of information in the packet for you. But in order to save time, and I think to point out the highlights, I just have 3 points I would like to make, and then we're happy to answer any questions or go through any other information that's in the packet. So the first thing I'd like to touch on is the lot itself. There is a map in there where you'll see some properties circled in red. What it is our property, I think, is classified as a 4. I'm learning a lot when I was sitting here listening earlier, too. So, but I would like to say a couple of things about our lot. It's long and narrow. We have basically 2 10-foot strips coming down each side. The backyard, we lost 25 feet of the backyard to a CRMC buffer where they made us take out the grass that was there and plant seagrass. So that left us about a 25 by 50 backyard. But in that backyard is also a rain garden that we had to put in for Public Works to collect the runoff, which we understand. But the elevation of most of the backyard is about 3.5 mean sea level. So every time there's a king tide, the backyard accumulates water. So that happens quite a bit. And with some of the photos you can see, during storm events, the whole lot can have water on it. So we saw some of the other lots, the ones that are circling in red, had some reductions for intermittent flooding. And we don't have any of that on our lot. So that was one of the points I wanted to make. The biggest point of the discussion, though, is the house itself. It's new construction. And our house is about a quarter of a mile down the hill from another house that was completed at the same time at 6 Quagnut. That house has a living square footage of 3,064 feet. It has 3 bedrooms, 3.5 baths, and it's valued, the house is valued at $978,900. Our house living space is listed by the town as 3,055. We calculated out at 2,850 because the total building itself is only 30 by 50. We have 2 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, and our building value by the town is $1.617 million. So that's a huge discrepancy. And the houses, as I learned earlier, it's basically because of the classification of the construction. The house you'll see at 6 Quagnut, which, if you don't mind, Karen can show you, because we didn't have a picture of that at the time, is extremely similar to it. It's extremely similar to our house. If you look at our house and look at that. So, you know, a discrepancy of over 600,000 is very absorbent. And then the last point I'd like to make is if you go out of our house and go left down the road a little ways, there's a piece of property at 265 Winchester, which there is a photo in the packet. That house is 4,526 square feet. It has a carriage house with a 3-car garage. The lot is 43,000 square feet. Much of it is well above elevation of what our lot is. And their total property evaluation is 2.367. And our evaluation is 2.569,900. So My time on the fire department and being a surveyor for many years, I've seen many properties in South Kingstown. I would say 265 Winchester Drive is one of the nicest properties in the town of South Kingstown, without a doubt. And like I said, we're appraised higher than that house. So we feel like there's a huge discrepancy there, and again, we did expect to pay more down on the water, but we are both retired, and we also know that if we have this evaluation, it's going to be year after year after year, and it's very, very absorbent in our eyes. So, like I said, I just wanted, in a matter of time, just wanted to summarize some key points, but certainly, if you have any questions, we're happy to take those as well.
Questions, comments?
Yeah, no, thank you, and thanks for kind of narrowing down the focus.
That's a lot,
Because we went through the packet, and I know that there were even some issues that you were raising regarding roof cover, the accounting for the lower level. Those have they been resolved with the assessor?
Well, what we did
or
was
is-
we did bring all our points to the assessor, and she made a marginal adjustment, basically due to obvious errors in the construction of the house. So our new evaluation is $2,418,958.
Right.
But again, that's still higher than 265 and still has our building at over 600,000 more than the one at Guagna.
Now, you bought it, so you bought the records show you purchased it, I think in, oh man, I lost the page.
What
but
is
you-
3 years ago now, Karen?
Oh, yeah, January 2023?
Correct.
And so the purchase price of 1.2 million is,
Correct.
that was a market transaction?
Yeah, we
or-
actually had a bid against some other people for the
Right.
property. There was a small building on the property.
Yeah,
but-
I saw in the pictures, it looked like that was the previous.
Yeah, it wasn't much of a house, but it was a property, a house on it.
And then, I mean, just like, so the way the assessor breaks down land and, I was gonna look it up, the land, but I was just curious what you, in terms of replacement cost or construction cost of the home, do you feel that your assessment is out of whack with either the cost to build plus land acquisition?
Oh, yes.
Or
well,
the value, are you
built-
challenging the assessment on the basis of you're overvalued relative to market, or really just you're overvalued relative to these issues that you've identified in the
Well, certainly, I
neighborhood?
don't see how the house we showed you can be 600,000 less in evaluation than our house. We did build the house for right around $1 million, so replacement cost would obviously be less than that, because I wouldn't have to do the foundation or any of the
Right.
site work again. So it's 600,000 more than I built it for, and it just was completed, so we feel there's big discrepancies on the value of the house.
Yeah, no, that's helpful.
And I think a lot of that comes down to the whole classification that you discussed
Yeah.
two applicants ago
'Cause
about custom.
Yeah, because the square footage price is so different between those two classifications.
Is Morvillo 265?
Yeah, and.
I think Morvillo, who's 265, who's got views out front and back, and is
That's-
just, as to the untrained eye, looks just as custom, if not more so than ours, is not designated as custom. And I think that's discrepancy between us and them.
And you mentioned, so in 6 Quacknut, is that the one that you showed me a picture
Yes.
of? Right, and that.
Which was just constructed.
And is that one classified as custom? I'm just,
I don't think, it's got to be whatever the lower rate is, because it's much lower than ours, and it's
Yeah.
bigger.
that's, I don't know if I have that.
think their
in-
property card's
We
in there.
we can
I think
take a
you have
look
their
at
property card.
that, because I imagine we will discuss the classification. And then,
I don't know where that
I think the lot factors, we could take a closer look at that. You gave us a map
Yeah.
that showed some of the differences in the neighborhood. I don't know if you have any questions about that, Alice, but I'm flipping through the pages again.
I know it's a lot, that's why I wanted to kind of hit the highlights.
No, I think that's it. So essentially, we'll take a look at the lot assessment.
Yeah.
And note the factors that you mentioned. So it's like, I know, I saw on the aerial that it's quite a long, narrow lot, where,
Correct.
so your actual frontage, your water frontage is limited relative to the size of the lot.
Correct, it's 50 feet wide.
And that's hard to, yeah, I think that's hard for a mass appraisal to
Yeah, because a lot size
fine,
is
to
a little
fine
bigger.
tune it. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, it's a half acre on the water, or whatever it is, but there is a difference if you have a broad.
Yeah, and
shoreline.
down there, the big difference too is the elevation, obviously, because, every 6 inches makes a huge difference in
Mm-hmm.
elevation down there. We're trying to get every 6 inches we can when the water comes up, so that's a big difference.
Right.
Yeah, and the front yard is essentially, there's no yard in the front because it's driveway, it's the elevated septic, it's the elevated
propane
propane
tank. So, yeah,
tank,
it's-
so there's
basically, the
no-
backyard is what's there.
Great. And I found a picture of 235 Winchester as well, so thank you. All right.
That's us.
Yeah, I think I mean, I read through all this, and the presentation kind of helps train our eye
I
to
appreciate you
the,
reading
to
through it. I
the.
know it was a lot of material, but we wanted to make sure we kind of.
Yeah, it was good reading last night, all of it, but, no, that was, the supporting materials are helpful, just to give us,
Yep.
kind of tells us the story, gives us the context, and the presentation as well, to just kind of focus our attention on those areas. And we'll return to this, a little bit later in the meeting.
Great, we appreciate your time and for what you do. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we have one more item under new business, and I think what we'll do here is we'll hear this one, and then we have old business, and maybe we'll take a break after this. Appeal number 89, Bookbinder Bruce are those folks here, 37 Coast Guard Ave.
Red means on, right? Okay.
Red is on, yes, you'll see it light up here and on the console.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Joe Carnevale. I am an attorney with Savage Law Partners in Providence, and I represent Mr. Bookbinder in his capacity as the trustee of his trust, as the owner of 37 Coast Guard Avenue. By way of brief background, this property was purchased by my client on August 12th of 2020 for a purchase price of $1,287,500. That was a fair market deal. There were other bidders at the time that the property was purchased. The previous assessed value of this property was $2,535,700. The new assessed value that we are presently appealing is $4,958,600. So the assessed value almost doubled in this one cycle since the prior iteration of December 31st, 2023. By way of brief background and just to contextualize what we specifically take issue with a little bit. So our position is that this was a disproportionate assessment and increase in comparison to other similarly situated properties that we've identified with the assistance of a local real estate professional. In the initial appeal package that I submitted to the tax assessor in our Exhibit A, there is a spreadsheet that gives the details of the 22 homes that we've identified. Now, over the past several years, I've unfortunately had to go through a lot of education through various depositions with representatives of Vision Government Appraisal, New England Reeval, and the like. So what they do, and I'm sure I'm preaching to the choir to some degree, with these statistical evaluations, their ultimate conclusions are algorithmic based, right? They identify a base home cost, a base land cost, then that's modified, multiplied with all of the different factors, percent good, depreciation, square footage, use code for a particular neighborhood, zoning code, neighborhood, and other factors of the same sort. Now, what we have found and what we've presented with respect to these comparable properties is that, my client's increase in this cycle was 95% to be precise. The average amongst all of these comparable properties was only a 42% increase. Over the past year, and in fact, since my client purchased the property, there have been no major improvements whatsoever. Since the time of purchase, what they have done, they've repainted a couple of rooms on the inside of the house, and they replaced flooring in certain rooms in the house. And that wasn't anything significant. There were existing hardwoods. They were replaced with hardwoods. It's not like we went from carpet or laminate to very expensive or pricey flooring materials. Now, when we look at some of these comps in particular, I think there's some discrepancy in both the increase in the assessment on the land value as well as the building value. Taking first 56 Green Hill Drive, which is several hundred feet down the road from 37 Coast Guard, that home was built in 2002. The living area is 6,162 square feet. The land area, the size is 2.3 acres. Now, that land is presently assessed at $2,420,000. 37 Coast Guard Avenue is just under half an acre, and the land value assessment now currently is $2,189,700. When we look at the assessed building value of 56 Green Hill Ocean Drive, again, 6,000 square feet, the building value is $2,409,000 compared to 37 Coast Guard, with a living area of 4,200 square feet, assessed presently at $2,768,000. When we further dive into these 22 comparable properties that we have identified and submitted, amongst these properties, there are 7 Rhode Island resident owners of these properties. The remaining 15 are individuals where this is either a second home or their primary residence, otherwise is out of state. I am gently suggesting to this board that there is perhaps something amiss with Vision's methodology and their formula for this cycle, because, again, looking at these properties, if we take the 7 Rhode Island resident owners, the average increase amongst those owners was only 27%. If we now compare that to the 15 non-resident owners, the average increase on those properties was just under 49%, 48.7% to be precise. So I would gently suggest that there is perhaps an element of Vision's methodology that they utilized here that perhaps disproportionately assesses non-resident owners as compared to resident owners. All that being said, as was laid out in our original appeal, we produced an opinion on value of $2,700,000. The replacement value on this on the structure is $1,658,000. And I know I didn't fill that in my original appeal. That was something we got from the insurance policies after the fact, and I had forgotten to update that and resubmit, so my apologies for that. All that being said, if we were to even apply what the average increase was amongst the 22 comparable properties that we presented, that average increase of 42%, that would yield a new total assessed value of 37 Coast Guard of $3,600,694, which, although we're asking for $2.7 million, I would still suggest, and my client would still be receptive to the $3.6 million figure that is more commensurate with fair market value and what real estate professionals had told us we could potentially list the house for if it was to be listed for sale. But I can also indicate to the board that my client does not have any intention of selling now or in the near future. With that being said, are there any questions that the board has of me on any of the data, comparables, or anything provided?
Just as a point of clarification, so your opinion of value that you put in your application of $2.7 million, that is more relative to the percent increase relative to the neighboring properties that you've identified, or is that market-based?
So the $2.7 million was based on replacement costs and a modest increase on the assessed land value. The figure of $3.6 million that I just referenced, that is the value that is commensurate and consistent with the average increase that was seen by the 22 comparable property owners in the vicinity.
Right. So essentially, there's two methods. Essentially, it's like kind of land plus replacement cost. Another method, 3.6 million, which applies the percent change.
Yes, and that's just
Is there a third method where there's an appraisal of the property that tells us what it actually would sell for?
Sure, we did not obtain an appraisal at this juncture because, our principal position is just, in fact, the disproportionate assessment.
case
And
is on
because there weren't-
disproportionality. Yeah, I
Correct,
understand
and
what you're
because
saying.
there weren't any modifications or updates or anything of the property, we just didn't see necessarily from our position a need to go down that road yet. So I'm sorry, I gave you 2 out of the 3.
No, that's, yeah,
methodologies.
it actually helps just, when we come to decide, it helps us understand kind of what leg you're standing on in making your case to us.
And
I
just
mean,
to-
we have some information in our packet regarding, listing. So the property looks like it's been listed for sale over the last couple of years.
I believe it was listed for, don't quote me on this, I don't have that in front of me. In my discussions with my client, I think it was listed for a time in maybe 2022, but I'm hazy on that and I don't have all of the details. So I'll defer on whatever's in your packet.
I think the
'cause I know
assessor
it
just
gets-
included some additional materials with the real estate listing, or previous, so we can maybe get into a little bit, but even, So even if it had been listed for 7.6 million or 6.4 million, you're not really challenging the fair market value on the basis of what it might sell for.
Okay.
And
I'm sorry.
it has there's no closed transaction, so we just have listings giving us a sense of what an asking price might be.
Yes, and, that was ultimately withdrawn because there were no buyers at that price, and heck, my client tells me that if he could sell it for the $5 million value that it's presently assessed at, he would do that, but it's just not realistic based upon what he's been told by listing agents. And just to add one more additional piece to this, amongst the 22 comparable properties, the only other property that has seen an increase near the 95% and actually exceeded 95%, it was about 110%, in this cycle was 1054 Green Hill Beach Road. But that property, there was a full tear down and rebuild of an entirely new and bigger structure over the course of 2022, and I think the certificate of occupancy might have came in either 23 or 24. And according to the building permit that was pulled for that, number 75477, that was at a $2 million cost of construction.
Right, and you're mentioning that because, so in the data set that you've presented of kind of assessment increase ratio, that's the upper end.
That's the upper end, and in fact, that brand new build on the existing property, 3,900 square feet of living area, 3/10 of an acre lot, and the total assessment on that property is $4.2 million.
Other questions, comments? Okay, I'm good. There's a lot of information here, but I understand that it's very well presented. All right, you're all set? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
That concludes new business. It's 11 o'clock. We're going to go till about 12:15. Do we want to take a 5-minute break? All right, we're going to take it's 11:05 right now. We'll start the meeting shortly before 11:15. Okay? Thank you.
Should we make a motion for that? So
Sorry about that.
Yeah, sorry about that. So I would just make
Yeah, do we have a motion to have an 8-minute break?
I think I'll make a motion to close the public session for new business.
Yes, that's, okay. We have a
And-
mo-
Yeah, can I combine and proceed to a 5-minute or 10-minute adjournment?
We have a motion on the floor to close all new business, the public hearing for new business, and we're going to take an 8 or 10-minute break. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion passes.